morning again, if you're awake, alive. And I will give you a short presentation about the National Forest Inventory in Iceland. And we could talk about use of NFI, use of field map in the NFI. We three of us who are here today, Icelanders, we work at the Icelandic Forest Research Institute, who is a division of the Icelandic Forest Service, which is the official forest service in Iceland. Just to have it clear. And this is the overview over my presentation. I will talk a little bit about the state of the forest in Iceland and all the wooded land. But it will be a very brief introduction and not so deep. And then I will go to the Icelandic NFI, a little bit about that, and the use of field map in the NFI, and what we see as a further improvement of the NFI field map project. And in the end I will go through some of the other projects, research projects we have been doing in Iceland with field map. And that is an increasing use of field map in Iceland. We use it in other projects. And a little bit about the forest in Iceland. We have now about 2% of the terrestrial area of Iceland covered with woodland and forest. 1.5% is the native bird woodland of the country, who in the beginning of settlement did cover almost all the lowlands in Iceland, about 25%. It have been destroyed by management in the 1200 years history of Iceland. The other part is cultivated forest, and that is 0.4% of the land. And that is mostly plantations and mostly introduced tree species, but part of it, about 25% is plantation of native trees, mostly the native birds, was mountain birds, tucanes. And this is a new map over the distribution or the coverage of the native birds in Iceland. We did remap all the native birds in Iceland in the year 2010 to 2040. It was a lot of work. And meanwhile, we were not measuring with field map in the birds woodland. Because what we did see when we started the first inventory of the woodlands with the sample plot inventory, we did see that the old maps over the woodland in Iceland, they were very, very coarse and not right. There were many errors in the map. So we would like to use the map as a population to collect the samples, and then the map has to be rather accurate. And there we have, this is on Icelandic, and there we have classified the woodlands into 3 categories, and you can see there that very little part of the bird woodland is defined by FAO definition as forest. It's just under under 10% of the bird woodlands, and they are more or less situated in the north and east part of Iceland. The cultivated forest, that is another story. It's mainly plantations, but when we are getting older and older cultivations, we get more and more of our natural regeneration around these plantations. So some people like it, some people don't like it. So expansion of this plantation is increasing. The first, the goal of the afforestation can be vary a lot. We can have afforestation with white poplar from Alaska called the black cottonwood, who is very intensive biomass production often on a very fertile land. But sometimes we are planted small groups of birds on deserts, just to try to get some vegetation on deserts around volcanoes. It's a big problem in Iceland, eruption, wind eruption, where the wind is blowing the soil and destroying the vegetation. So we are trying to stop this erosion with trees. More intermediate use of afforestation is to build up forests around the settlements, around the cities, around the cities, because everyone know, and you know it too, that the forest around the settlement is very much used by people. And if you are living in a country where the wind is blowing and the weather can often is not very nice, it's very good to have a forest around the settlements. It slows down the wind in the settlements, and it is used very much for the people, for walking and recreation and leisure. What have changed in the forestry sector in Iceland is that maybe 20, 30 years ago there was very little planning in forestry. You just got a land and you started to plant, and another guy got a land and he started to plant trees. But now every at least afforestation that is funded by the state, it has to go through thorough planning, and it has to be stamped in many institutions before we can start the afforestation. And there are many places in Iceland that it's not allowed to use for afforestation. For example, young lava fields and ruins, working miles, and so on and so forth. So we are mostly working with afforestation in the agricultural part of Iceland, where we have the agriculture, where we have the people living, and there the farmers want to have more pillars on the livings, so they want to start forest and afforestation to get some wood to use as we use wood. So there are huge places in Iceland where there will never be any afforestation or forestry activity other than the preservation of the native woodlands. little bit about the funding of afforestation. The state funding is the main driver of afforestation. And the farmers, they can get up to 97% direct state funds for the start of the afforestation, for buying the plants and fencing and the work of planting the trees. But after the first pre-commercial thinnings, they have to cost everything themselves. And this is a graph over the number of seedlings planted in Iceland. This is not just afforestation, it can be in some cases a reforestation, but as you can see, we did have a huge increase in 1990. That was very convenient. That was the first year of the Kyoto Protocol, so that was we were lucky there, we can say. But you can also see the financial crisis in this graph. In 2007, we did have a record in planting, but after that, there have been drastic decrease in annual planting. That is because the state funding has been shrink down a lot, decreased. So we were over 6 million seedlings per year in 2007, but now we are down to about 11. So it's just a half what it was when it was most. And we can see that the same trend in our data from the National Forest Inventory, that the afforestation increase is dropping down to about 1,300 hectares per year, from being much higher before. Then I will talk a little bit about the Icelandic National Forest Inventory. This is a classical sample plot, systematic sample plot inventory, a rather simple one. In that way that we do not use clusters, we have just one plot on a grid intersect. And the grid intersect in the cultivated forest is much denser than in the native woodlands. So the grid intersect is 500 to 1,000 meters in the cultivated forest, with 1.5 kilometers to 3 kilometers in the native woodlands. You can see on this map. The green plots here are the plots in the native woodlands, and the red one are the plots in the cultivated forest, and the green polygons here are the birch woodlands, and the red one are the cultivated forest. And as you can see there's a lot of, you have Reykjavik and the settlements around Reykjavik here, and there's a lot of afforestation and the cultivated forest around Reykjavik. You can see there two numbers of plots we sampled in one round. One round in the cultivated forest is 5 years, and we did sample in the last inventory from 2010 to 2014. We did sample over 800 plots in the cultivated forest, with just 210 plots in the first inventory of the birch woodland. That was conducted in 2005 to 2009. And just to show you what we use this data, what is the main use of this data? The main use of this data is to make these GHG estimates. Like this, we are estimating the carbon removals to the forest, and then you can see these two strata, what we have estimated the CO2 removal to these two ecosystems. And you can see there that it is reasonable to measure more dense the cultivated forest than the native woodlands, because it have more effect on this carbon accounting. It's more at this time, because there's lots of young forest and it's growing and increasing in stock, and it will take many decades before it will balance. So the main goal for doing the National Forest Inventory in Iceland is to make trustworthy estimate of the greenhouse gas keeping. And when did we start to use the 5-field map? And I will give you some history. I will give you the history about the use of field map. And we bought our first field map package in 2004. And we could visit you in the spring of 2004. Was that right? And we did get some teaching. But we start, and here we are somewhere in the neighborhood of the USA 12 years ago, 13 years ago, testing the equipment. And in the summer of 2004, the only thing we did with the field map was to test it in Iceland. We did measure some small dendrobic park in South Iceland with the instrument. Was the first we did. And here we are starting the measurement. I'm not very sure what we are going to do. But it became easier and easier, and I can just point out that the mountain there in the back, this is the famous Eyjafjallajökull, the mountain who did erupt and stop all the flights in Europe for almost a week. But in 2005, we started the first round of the NFI, and we started using field map, and we did just have one equipment. It was rather hard to have just one equipment. We were measuring from the end of May to mid of October continuously, and that was very hard and stressful just to have one package. So we did decide in 2008 to buy another one. That was a very good decision, and we cut down the time of the field map work to 2 months, almost 2 months, 2.5 months. And then we were just measuring in June and August, and lifted out in September. What had happened then was that, this is the second equipment we did buy. It was the same. Oh, the time is running out. Okay, and we are going to speed up. We bought the third hardware package in 2015, and we started to use it in special occasions. It's more lighter one, this one. It's very good suited to the measurement in the bird woodland. There we have to walk long distance, often in heavy terrain, and then it's not very good to have this rather heavy equipment as the hammerhead and the old equipment is. This is much better. A little bit about the system. One can say that we have there are two major parts in the field map system. That is the land type part, there, the yellow one there, and the trees, tree measurement, the land type, delineation, and the tree measurement. And I cannot go very deep into this, just to show you all the land types we define, and we can take a plot and split it into 2 land types or 3 land types if we want. These are the land types for the net forest area. These are the land types for gross forest area, and these are land types outside the forest. I will not go very much through this vegetation frame. This is vegetation analysis. But this one is the tree layer, and that is the second layer I will talk a little bit about. We measure a lot of things. What is special for us is that we, in the cultivated forest, in the plantation, we start the measuring right away when they have planted. So we can use the data with samples of the seedlings to find out the mortality of the seedling, how the seedling is growing, and that is very important when you have a forestry, a young forestry going on, and it's very important to follow how the seedlings are growing. So we follow the seedlings just from start. So we are measuring very small seedlings. So we measure the diameter of the stump, so to say. And after a while, we start to measure the diameter in breast height and the height of it. Not to go very much into this, but the improvements I have thought very much about is that you have this polygon here, and you have another polygon here. You have some trees on this polygon and some trees on another polygon. How can we georeference the information about this polygon to the trees and vice versa? Is that possible? I'm sure that is possible, but that is some of the improvements we have to do to get the stock into to connect the stock of the trees, carbon stock or volume, to the land types. There are many other improvements to do. This was the first I was talking about. But what we have to do, and we have learned very much about the SQL database, we have to set up a standard SQL database with raw data and some calculated data. And the calculated data has to be volume and carbon stocks, etc. And we have to make new scripts to pick out candidates for height measurement. We are measuring height of all trees now. It takes too long time. So we have to make new scripts there. And we have to write a field manual for NFI. We have never done that, and that is very bad. These are all the projects. All the projects we have used field mapping, and after we bought the second instrument, it was possible to use field map equipment and the software and other projects. And these projects are projects with external funding, most of them. So we are getting money into the institutions because we have this skills to use field map, and the software was very flexible. That is the big thing about field map. It's very flexible to set up a database for the people. What do you want to measure? I just asked them, what do you want to measure? And I think the field map database, and we get the information, and I get out the information in the autumn, you know, and they get the data they want to work with right away, and everyone is happy. Okay, thank you very much. It was a little bit too long.